On the day she disappears, high school teacher Tara Grinstead spends the afternoon with some of her students. They're preparing for the Miss Georgia Sweet Potato Pageant, a big event in a small, close-knit town like Ocilla, Georgia.
On that Saturday, Tara had helped a lot of the girls prepare for the pageant. She had done their hair and their makeup.
A lot of them borrowed her dresses as well. And she had so much fun. She had a really good time with the girls. You know, they had snacks and had lunch.
Tara has an especially close relationship with many of her students.
I never heard anybody say a bad thing about Tara. They related really well to her. She always went the extra mile to help her kids, and she made class so much fun.
Most of Tara's students would say, well, she's my teacher, but she's also my friend.
Tara has been involved in beauty pageants since her high school years, but has her own agenda about the competitions.
Pageanting was not for show and not for everybody to tell her she's beautiful. I think it gave her self-confidence, number one. I think it bettered her self-esteem.
Contestant number 2.
In 1999, Tara won the title of Miss Tifton, Georgia. That victory gave her the opportunity to compete in the Miss Georgia pageant.
Once you accomplish one of your dreams, I mean, how often do you get to do that? And she did by going to Miss Georgia.
Tara doesn't win the Miss Georgia pageant, but her family says that for her, winning was never the most important thing.
I never saw in her that winning a pageant was an ego thing. It was not about just the title of winning. It was always about accomplishing something.
Tara's goal had always been education. She succeeds in funding her entire undergraduate education with money earned from pageants.
She knew college is expensive and it was going to be tough on her, and she did not want to burden her mother any more than she had to.
After getting her bachelor's degree in education, Tara works full-time and takes graduate classes at night, working steadily toward her ultimate goal, a PhD in education.
She had gotten a 6-year degree in administration, and that was what she was pursuing her doctorate in. I think she eventually wanted to be a high school principal.
That Saturday night, a happy and relaxed Tara leaves the sweet potato pageant and heads over to a cookout attended by friends from school.
Tara stayed at the cookout for about 2 hours and left at approximately 11 o'clock p.m., ostensibly to go home.
She said she was going to watch the video of the pageant, and then she was going to go to bed.
In a small town like Ocilla, neighbors look out for each other. Because she lives alone, Tara and her next-door neighbors have a system for saying, "I'm home and all is well."
Every night when she came home, the first thing she would do was go into her room and turn on the lamp in the bedroom. The neighbors would look out and they would see that lamp on, and it would kind of be a signal to them, well, Tara's made it home.
That night, the light in Tara's window never goes on. The next day, nobody sees Tara. No one is able to contact her, including her mother.
The more that she called and the longer the time went on that Tara didn't call her back, she started to get concerned.
Sometimes people just want to be left alone. But I can't imagine her ever ignoring her mother's phone call.
On Monday morning, Tara doesn't show up to teach her classes at Irwin County High School. Friends and family know that something is very wrong.
That was a red flag for me because I knew what a dedicated teacher Tara was.
Tara had never missed a day of school without prearranging a substitute teacher.
One of Tara's friends calls Ocilla Police Chief Billy Hancock.
He indicated to me that Tara had not been seen over the last day, that if the school had been contacted, she had not shown up there.
Chief Hancock arrives at Tara's residence at approximately 10 a.m. on Monday. Her car is parked in its usual spot under the carport.
The fact that her car was there and she wasn't meant that she probably left with someone.
The doors of the car are unlocked. Oddly, there is an envelope containing $100 in cash left in the center console.
I would think it'd be unusual for anybody to leave that amount of cash in the car and leave it unlocked.
That's not like Tara to have money laying around any place.
Inside Tara's house, however, everything looks fairly normal.
There was no sign of forcible entry. There was no clear indication that any kind of struggle had occurred inside.
Both the exterior and interior of Tara's residence are photographed in detail.
Every room was photographed thoroughly to capture, what the condition of the house was at the time of our arrival.
Clothing and accessories scattered around the floor help police reconstruct some of Tara's last known movements.
The clothes Tara was wearing on the night of October 22nd were on the floor in her bedroom, which indicated to us that she had indeed arrived home. Her bed appeared as if possibly somebody had either slept in it or laid in it.
Her cell phone was in the charger. It was still there in the charger. And to us, it indicates that she left the house with intentions of coming back. She knew she wasn't going to be gone long enough to have use of her cell phone.
Investigators locate more intriguing clues outside Tara's house. A business card is wedged into her front door. They find something far more disturbing on the ground.
Initial law enforcement officers who arrived immediately spotted a latex glove lying in the grass in the front yard, several feet away from the front door.
Then I really got scared.
For investigators, the latex glove is an ominous indicator of foul play.
It certainly indicated to us that there was a strong likelihood that a crime had occurred. It would imply that whoever was using it was trying to avoid being detected.
The latex glove's not something that all of us have. I think somebody had it very specifically so that they would not leave a trace.
Our gut feeling upon processing Tara's residence was that a crime had occurred.
Coming up, police investigate the men in Tara's life and uncover some troubling leads.
She gave me the impression that he acted like he was not stable.
30-year-old high school teacher Tara Grinstead has vanished.
I have never known Tara to just take off without letting somebody know. I'm not aware of any time that she ever did that. Everybody might not know, but somebody always knew where she was.
By the time local police arrive at her residence, nobody has seen or heard from Tara for almost 2 days.
Everybody knew that she just had not, gone off for a couple of days, that something had happened, something serious had happened to Tara.
Due to the urgent nature of the case, Ocilla Police request the assistance of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
When a person goes missing and we're asked to investigate, we operate with the premise that we're going to presume the worst and hope for the best.
To investigators, a latex glove found near Tara's front door makes it look like someone was attempting to cover up a crime.
Either there was an abduction of Tara in which someone wore gloves, or they returned to the scene and accidentally dropped a glove.
Besides the glove, police have few indications that a crime took place.
To us, there was no clear sign of a struggle. However, that doesn't affect how you proceed in an investigation, because there can be an abduction with no indication of a struggle. It'd be quite easy to take someone out of their house at gunpoint and there'd be no disturbance whatsoever.
My gut feeling is that somebody came by and she left with someone that she knew, and that something horrible happened after that.
Tara's family begins to fear that they might not ever see her again. Meanwhile, the lack of a crime scene presents a daunting challenge to investigators.
In a typical criminal investigation, you have an outcome against which you can measure evidence and theories. In a missing persons case, you don't have that outcome, so you can't measure anything against anything. Everything remains in play.
Law enforcement seals Tara's house and takes her car and the latex glove in for evidence processing.
We actually had a crime lab scientist on the phone immediately who was preparing a plan as to how to handle that latex glove to maximize the possibility of the recovery of evidence.
Tara has been missing for 12 hours. That evening, at Irwin County High School, students and teachers band together in an effort to find her.
The first flyer that was made just basically had a picture of Tara and just had the words missing on it. It just described her height and weight and color of her hair and her eyes.
The students are coming up and they're like, what can we do? We can't just stand around. And I was so touched that, these kids did that. And, they did this until like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Tara's fellow teachers and students design and then distribute hundreds of flyers throughout the Ocilla area.
Posters were everywhere in this community. I mean, they were on light poles, in business windows, on cars, just almost everywhere imaginable.
Georgia Bureau of Investigation agents interview all of Tara's neighbors and conduct an extensive search of her neighborhood.
Also, some tracking dogs were brought in to try to see if they could pick up on any kind of scent of Tara, to see if she had gone somewhere on foot that we might be able to find her.
Both the canvas and the search dogs turn up nothing of value to investigators. Searching for clues, they delve deeply into Tara's background.
You learn as much about the victim as you can, their timeline, their propensities, their associates.
They learn that Tara's circle of acquaintances was huge, from her second job at a department store makeup counter to the various campuses where she took graduate classes.
She had been going to school at night for several years, working on her master's and her specialist degree, so that involved a lot of students that she had met that obviously we would not know.
But it is closer to home that investigators uncover a deeper mystery.
A lot of disappearance cases, you kind of have an immediate focus. You have, a close associate, a boyfriend, or what have you, ex-husband, husband. In this case, what we learned was Tara had several such associates.
Looking into Tara's personal life, they find a complex series of relationships with men.
Tara was involved romantically with several different persons in a close period of time, and she kept those relationships separate from one another.
Investigators focus first on Tara's ex-boyfriend, Marcus Harper.
Tara had a long-term romantic relationship with Marcus Harper. They had broken up approximately a year earlier. Tara had ended the relationship because she believed Marcus wasn't ready to get married.
Investigators learn that Harper served in the Ocilla Police Department for 4 years and then enlisted in the United States Army Rangers in 2001.
She's very proud of him and what he accomplished because he was really good at what he did.
Investigators from the GBI conduct a series of interviews with Marcus Harper.
We interviewed Marcus Harper the very first day and talked to him several times after that.
Over the years that the couple was together, Tara's friends and family got to know Marcus well.
They really looked like a great couple. I mean, he was big and strong, and she was, they were like a really good couple, and I think that they enjoyed each other.
Anytime that we were around Marcus, we had a very good relationship with him. He was always very respectful to us. He was always respectful to Tara when we were with them.
Anita Gaddis sees her sister's relationship with Marcus quite differently.
Tara was a little bit afraid of him. He's been an Army Ranger, and the training that they have is just unbelievable. The things that they can do, the things that they survive. And we stayed in touch with him during his training, and I know what he was able to survive. So I know what the guy's made of.
Despite the differing perceptions within her family, investigators find no history of violence in Tara and Marcus's relationship. But they discover that several months before she disappeared, Tara did experience the threat of violence at the hands of one of her former students.
He had gone over to her house one afternoon in March of 2005. He wanted to speak to her.
The 20-year-old graduated from Irwin County High School the previous year. After taking Tara's history class, he developed a fondness for her.
They had a closer relationship upon his graduation. He would speak to her and see her from time to time.
I just thought it was, one of her students that had, a crush on Tara because she was so beautiful and so sweet to all of her students. And he was the soul that Tara would have wanted to help.
But according to friends, Tara had expressed concern about her former student's behavior.
She had told me she'd been having trouble with him, like kind of getting a little too attached to her or whatever, and kind of got an impression that he was not stable.
Months before Tara disappeared, he came to her house and tried to physically force his way inside.
He wanted to speak to her, and she didn't want to talk to him at that time, and she wouldn't let him in the house, and he became quite upset, loud, began yelling and banging on her door, trying to gain entry.
That was a very violent situation. Neighbors actually had to call the police because he was so loud.
I was yelling and screaming through the door and banging on the door, and she gave me the impression that he acted like he was not himself.
Coming up, in the weeks before she disappears, Tara's personal life begins to unravel.
She called hysterically. I said, "Tara, are you okay? You are not thinking about suicide."
Tara Grinstead has been missing for 24 hours. Agents from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation learn that 7 months earlier, one of Tara's former students appeared uninvited at her home and tried to force his way inside.
He wanted to speak to her. She did not come to the door. He began to bang on the door. Basically, there started to become a disturbance.
I don't know if he read some signals wrong or if he just had a crush on her that he took too far.
I believe she just thought he might go away, but I think she realized that he wasn't going away, so she came to the door. They spoke briefly, and I think she tried to go back inside. She then started to shut her door, and he grabbed her on the arm. She pulled away and was able to shut the door.
At the time, Ocilla police are unable to get the former student to calm down, so he is arrested for disorderly conduct. According to Tara's handwritten statement to police, he invaded my privacy in my own home. While doing so in a raging and out-of-control manner, I was very scared for my well-being, as well as concerned about him.
His actions at the house did concern us, that there was some sort of a connection between he and Tara.
She never told me that she had any kind of inappropriate relationship with him. I don't think she did.
Still, the former student's strange behavior is reason enough for investigators to look for a connection with Tara's disappearance.
We thought it critical to interview him immediately. He was working at a job in Milledgeville, Georgia, about 100 miles away, and we immediately had an agent in that area find him.
The former student is able to account for his time on the night that Tara disappeared. Meanwhile, investigators keep digging into Marcus Harper and his relationship with Tara. In February of 2002, Marcus was deployed to Afghanistan. According to her sister, the separation and distance became difficult for Tara to deal with.
She said she really could not stay in that kind of relationship because if they go overseas and something bad happens to them, you know, you never find them, nobody knows anything.
I could tell after that things changed a lot for them. He changed and their relationship changed. But she just didn't want to quit. She loved him.
Tara and Marcus end their relationship, but remain in close contact.
They still saw each other occasionally. They still talked and emailed and called. And so Tara took that as there was still some kind of relationship.
Then, 3 weeks before Tara disappears, Marcus returns home to Ocilla, but doesn't contact her.
He had not told Tara he was home. Tara found out that he was back in Ocilla in Irwin County from a third party, and that made her very upset.
That really devastated her. She felt betrayed, and at that point I said, okay, look, he didn't want you to know he was back. And I remember saying to her, you know, now it's the time you move on, but she just could not quite get over Marcus.
Investigators learn that Tara calls Marcus from her car and confronts him about not getting in touch.
She was coming back from class in Waycross when she had engaged in a telephone conversation with Marcus Harper.
Marcus tells Tara that their relationship is over once and for all. According to friends and family, she has an emotional breakdown on the road.
She called hysterically and just felt like she was not able to drive. And one person went and picked her up, and the other passenger drove her car home. So they took her back to her house, and from what I understand, you know, they had to carry her in, and she was just so, you know, hysterical, crying.
Tara's fragile emotional state worries those closest to her.
I said, Tara, I mean, in these exact words, do you need anything? Do we need to do anything for you? Are you okay? You are not thinking about suicide. No, I promise you, I'm not, and that is not it. She said, I'm a little depressed, which everybody gets, but I am not suicidal.
Tara's family believes that she would never have committed suicide, regardless of how depressed she may have been over Marcus.
She was just not that type of person. She would not have done that to our mother. There's absolutely no way, regardless of how, you know, distraught or upset she was.
Agents at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation come to the same conclusion.
The possibility of suicide was something that was certainly considered, but after a few days and she hadn't been found, it made it much less likely, because when one commits suicide, it's quite difficult to dispose of your own body. So we believe that had that occurred, we would have found her already.
In the meantime, investigators continue to gather information from Marcus Harper. In a series of interviews, he accounts for his time on the night Tara disappeared.
He said that on Saturday night, he had gone to the White Horse Saloon in Fitzgerald, where he visited with some friends until approximately 2 in the morning.
After that, Marcus says he met up with his friend and former partner on the Ocilla Police Department and spent the night in a police cruiser, doing a ride-along.
We were able to corroborate that as best it could be corroborated. There was, no point that he didn't cooperate with us in the investigation.
For the moment, investigators' focus shifts away from Marcus Harper. Then, the business card found on Tara's front door provides a new lead. Agents learn that it belongs to a police officer from a nearby town, a married man.
We learned that he and Tara were very close. He had been trying to contact Tara all day Sunday and had left a number of messages on her answering machine.
A neighbor tells police that he was a frequent visitor to Tara's house.
He went down there and left his card in the door so that when she got home that she would know that he had been by there.
Investigators interview the officer, and he provides an alibi for his time the night Tara disappeared.
He was interviewed and gave a very thorough timeline of his actions over the last couple of weeks.
They put his family through questioning and the people he was with that night. The thing is if he had anything to do with it, he wouldn't have gone down there and left a business card and door,
Four days after Tara's disappearance, investigators find themselves back at square one. Desperate to uncover tangible evidence, they organize a large-scale search for Tara.
A organized, comprehensive ground search took place of the entire perimeter of Irwin County.
We had horses, we had airplanes, people volunteered, we had four-wheelers, four-wheel drive vehicles, we had people walking.
The massive search effort uses every tool available in Irwin County's arsenal. Dozens of agencies and hundreds of volunteer searchers take part in the effort to find Tara.
It's a very emotional thing, especially when you know the area they're going, when you know they're looking in open, deep wells, when you know they're going through swamps, when you know they're looking in abandoned grain bins.
It was pretty intense. It was long hours, long hours. Usually the searches would go on from, say, 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning until dark.
Most of them did not know Tara. They had never met Tara. And you've got hundreds of strangers coming to search for this beautiful person that has vanished.
Despite the massive effort, none of the searches come up with any evidence related to Tara's disappearance.
It makes you feel helpless because, you want to solve these problems and, you want to catch the bad guy. There's one involved.
The one thing good that came out that we didn't find her, was what it gave us hope, of course, that she was still alive.
With the search effort yielding no leads, the latex glove found in Tara's yard looms as a piece of potentially critical evidence. Since it was recovered, forensic tests have been ongoing, but agents are circumspect.
We weren't real hopeful that we would be able to retrieve meaningful DNA or fingerprint evidence from it, but we had to try. So once we obtained the glove, we took it to the GBI crime lab in Atlanta.
Forensic scientists put the glove through a battery of tests, including one looking for the presence of DNA. It's a long shot, because according to police, it's very difficult to recover useful evidence from latex gloves.
If you process for fingerprints first, it will destroy DNA evidence. If you process for DNA evidence, you may destroy or somehow cause problems with the fingerprint evidence. They basically cut it up based on the probability of which section of the glove would reveal which type of evidence and processed it accordingly.
We all watch TV, and on CSI, you know, they do the DNA, and, you know, we know everything within 30 minutes, but, I mean, it's weeks and weeks and weeks to get results back. And, you know, it's very frustrating to just, you know, sit and wait.
Despite the long odds, investigators hit the jackpot.
We were able to recover both fingerprint evidence and DNA evidence.
The fingerprints found on the glove are only partial prints, limiting their use in the investigation.
Fortunately, we also had DNA on the glove, male DNA.
Thanks to the DNA evidence, GBI agents finally have a powerful lead in Tara's disappearance.
The DNA evidence lets us know that a male was at Tara's house and either wearing or had a glove in their possession.
Coming up, police look for a DNA match, believing that person may be responsible for Tara's disappearance.
We began swabbing pretty much any associate of Tara's that we came across.
And later,
volunteers are back searching for Tara Grinstead.
The news media descends on Ocilla, potentially compromising the investigation.
When you lose control of the flow of information, you don't know what you lost.
Has been in full force for 10 days. Investigators recovered DNA evidence from the latex glove found at Tara's residence, suggesting that an unknown male was on Tara's property during the time she disappeared.
We knew that we were looking for a male potential offender. So at that point, we ensured that we obtained DNA samples from most everyone we could associate with Tara.
She met hundreds of people every day, and she was such a personable person and smiled, and she would introduce herself to anybody.
Any male that came in contact with Tara, whether it was at her high school, at one of the colleges she went to, there's very few people that I know that they haven't swabbed.
Agents collect the DNA of 144 men that had any contact with Tara, no matter how distant.
Essentially, all you do is take a swab of the inside of someone's cheek and submit that swab for comparison against the questioned DNA. In our case, the DNA from the glove.
But when the samples of DNA are compared, there is no match with any of Tara's male associates. Investigators find no match with the National DNA Database either.
We've investigated everyone that we know of that was closely associated with Tara, and we can't find anything to indicate that any of them are responsible for her disappearance.
But investigators can't eliminate any of the men in Tara's life either. They might have had an accomplice whose DNA was left on the glove.
Maybe someone was involved in moving Tara's body. Maybe someone was involved in cleaning up, whatever evidence may have been at her residence before we arrived.
The lack of conclusive evidence frustrates investigators. Although each of Tara's close male associates provide credible alibis, none can account for every minute of their time during the 34 hours between when Tara was last seen and when she was discovered missing.
It's difficult for anyone to account for every hour of every day and provide an alibi for that. There are times that they're alone and nobody knows exactly what they're doing.
Because so much is unknown, investigators still need to consider all possibilities surrounding Tara's disappearance.
She left on her own, that she was trying to make some point to resolve one of her relationships, that any of these people that we encountered in the first day or days thereafter could have gotten into an altercation with her, or that there could be just a random offender out there that saw Tara as a crime of opportunity. Nothing was beyond the possibility, and nothing is. So as much as we'd love to clear people, say that they had no involvement, we're unable to do so because we don't know what happened to Tara.
As time drags on and Tara isn't found, investigators face an unexpected new challenge.
Turning our attention now to the case of that missing Georgia high school teacher, Tara Grinstead.
Volunteers are back searching for Tara Grinstead.
Growing attention from the national news media makes a sensitive investigation difficult to manage.
The entire interior of the residence and exterior was being broadcast as newscaster after newscaster toured the residence, videoed it, and put it on the air.
Your possible crime scene is all of a sudden exposed to the national media. That's just something that law enforcement isn't used to having happen.
According to both Ocilla Police and the GBI, confidential details of their investigation are reported by the news media without their knowledge or consent.
Things that were in the residence that we might have used to trip up somebody in an interview was gone.
Investigators never wanted their discovery of the latex glove to become public knowledge, but it did.
Once it became public, anyone that we interviewed that may have been responsible for Tara's disappearance and was the one that left that glove knew we had it. You might think that he had dropped it somewhere else, or may not even realize he'd left a glove behind at all.
Equally troubling, private citizens set up tip lines, but sometimes neglect to share information with law enforcement.
One well-known tip line was actually going to the cell phone of a bounty hunter. What information may have been lost because of that, I can't imagine. When you lose control of the flow of information, you don't know what you lost.
The sometimes intrusive media coverage also stokes the fires of accusation.
With all the media attention, there were a lot of armchair sleuths all over the country that were contacting us and some conducting their own investigation.
One website, called Backward State, goes so far as to present excerpts from one of GBI agent Gary Rothwell's television interviews, played backwards. The amateur sleuth claims that the interview audio, played in reverse, reveals hidden clues about the people responsible for Tara's disappearance.
I was identifying the true offender, and all you had to do was play my interview backwards. It was amazing.
Then, perhaps due to the media blitz, several new tips promising information into Tara's disappearance come in.
I got a phone call and was told that there had been a fire not too far out of town, and they said, I don't want to upset you, but I just need to prepare you. There is a chance that it could be connected to Tara.
There was a residence a few miles from Ocilla where a house burned and a vehicle burned. There were some theories developed that that arson was used to cover up evidence of Tara's abduction.
GBI agents and support personnel go to the burned-out house to investigate.
We headed to that scene as fast as possible, coordinating, having appropriate personnel to process it.
Anytime there's burned bodies or the remains of something are found, that's the first thing that goes through my mind, is it her?
But the search effort yields nothing.
Nothing at the arson scene was found that could be associated with Tara.
In the beginning, every time what sounded like a viable tip would come in, we would immediately think, this is it. After the first probably 2 or 3 times then that happened, you learn to be guarded in your optimism.
Over the next few months, more tips come in, but none bring investigators any closer to finding Tara.
There's been many times when we had what we call he ain't right moments, where we've encountered people in this investigation that their behaviors didn't seem appropriate. That's happened lots of times. Unfortunately, we haven't found evidence to support those feelings. Most of the time, we found evidence completely to the contrary.
Three years go by without any meaningful leads. Then, there is a bizarre development in the case.
I decided to confess a few things. I decided to do it on YouTube because there's millions of people that could help play my game.
With his face and voice digitally distorted, a man calling himself the Catch Me Killer posts an anonymous video online.
I want to confess to 16 murders. But in order to do so, I'm going to give everybody a clue. Many clues.
He claimed that he was a serial killer. He claimed that he had murdered 16 people, and he alluded to the fact that Tara was one of them.
The video doesn't refer to Tara by name, but cites details that clearly identify her, including the date of her disappearance.
He claimed that he had slit her throat, and he made reference to her screams into the night and said something about, but my blade, she could not fight. It was just horrible things that he said.
It was almost a sickening feeling to have an individual get up there and say those kind of things.
The GBI quickly launches an investigation to identify and apprehend the man claiming to have murdered Tara Grinstead.
Here we have a guy who's basically claiming that he's killed a woman we've been looking for 4 years. We had to find him.
Coming up, investigators zero in on the Catch Me Killer.
We executed search warrants on the basis that Tara was a victim of a crime and that he was the perpetrator. We were looking for evidence.
For almost 3.5 years, there are still no suspects in her disappearance. But now, a man calling himself the Catch Me Killer posts an anonymous video online. With his voice and likeness digitally obscured, he claims to have killed 16 people, including Tara Grinstead.
Once all 16 bodies are found, you'll know exactly who I am, because I have knowledge that the police know about, the FBI know about, but you don't.
Investigators note that the Catch Me Killer appears to possess intimate knowledge of Tara's life.
He described Tara's occupation, Tara's participation in beauty pageants, locations on Highway 32, which ran right through Ocilla, Georgia. There was no question he was talking about Tara.
I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, just hanging on every minute for information. I thought, you know, this is what we've been waiting for, and this is going to be the answer. We're going to finally know what happened to her.
Officials from several agencies join forces to track down the self-confessed killer. Agents get search warrants in order to locate the computer used to post the video.
What we did is ultimately traced the posting of that YouTube video to a couple of locations in Gainesville, Georgia, in Hall County, Georgia.
Investigators identify the man behind the video as Andrew Scott Haley. They raid his home and other locations in Georgia and seize his computer, camera, and writings. Within hours, they determine that Haley's video confession is a hoax.
He thought it was just a game, and he thought he could dupe people, and he somehow took pleasure in doing that. I don't think he gave any consideration to the harm that he was causing the victims' families and others that cared about Tara.
I still cannot understand what this person must have said to himself every day to justify what he was doing and to tell himself that it was okay. This was not a teenage prank. This was a grown, married man with children of his own.
Haley is found guilty of felony tampering with evidence and making false statements, and sentenced to 10 years in prison. As a first offender, he'll serve just 2 years in a work-release jail. Today, the Grinstead case file is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's biggest active case. Finding Tara still hinges on making a DNA match to the latex glove found outside her home.
It's almost amazing that we haven't gotten a hit yet. If someone is responsible for Tara's disappearance, it's highly likely we haven't talked to them yet.
Investigators still believe the case will eventually be solved.
We have evidence. We have DNA evidence. We have fingerprint evidence. It's not like we have nothing. We have a lot of information. We just don't know what it all means.
In the meantime, Tara's family and friends continue to wait.
Is she gone? Is she dead? When you just don't know any answers, you don't have a way of controlling your emotions.
It's a horrible situation for anybody to have to go through. It's worse than death. Death is final. Someone vanishing, it's not final until you find them.
You see how hurt these people are at the loss or disappearance of their loved one, and you want to put an end to that.
I've never experienced anything like that. I do have girls of my own. I just can't imagine what it would feel like if one of those were in a situation like Tara.
With Tara missing now for more than 5 years, her family is desperate for closure on their tragedy.
I just feel like...
Sheriff Barber's office.
Hi, this is Valerie Haythorne.
Yeah.
I'm at her house. It is covered in blood.
Hold on a second.
I need somebody out here.
We have 2 children missing, the woman that lives at a house, and now a neighbor friend, all missing.
Excuse me, 4 people in a remote part of Ohio? That just doesn't happen.
Everywhere we go, dead end. Dead end. Dead end. We have 0 suspects, 0 evidence. All we know is that we have 4 missing people. There's a lot of blood. It's pretty much a race against time to find anybody alive.
Are they alive? Are they dead?
The first thing that I am struck by is there are tons of leaves everywhere. This is an unbelievable set of circumstances. It's like a house of horror. I'm sorry.
Sheriff Barber's office.
Hi, my name is Valerie Haythorne. And I work at a Dairy Queen. I'm the general manager out there. One of my employees did not show up for work this afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Which is totally uncharacteristic of her. She's not answering her phone, which is totally uncharacteristic. She's not answering her text.
Tina is a single mom. She has 2 children from a previous relationship, Sarah and Cody. She's a wonderful employee, always on time, make sure that she does a good job. On Wednesday, November 10th, she doesn't show up. The manager, who's worked with Tina for a long time, said this is so unusual for her not to be here. She would always call or text if she wasn't coming.
Knox County only has about 65,000 people. Knox County is the type of place where you grow up, you know everybody. People go to school together, people work together. So her manager called the police and said, something's wrong here.
The sheriff's office sends a deputy out to Tina's house. He sees the blue Ford F-150 in the driveway, assumes that maybe she's there, goes up and knocks on the door. There's no answer. Doesn't see her, doesn't see anything unusual. So he decides that he's going to check on it at the end of the shift. He goes back at 11 p.m. and he notices that the blue Ford F-150 is gone. Bangs on the door really loud, looks in the windows, can't see anything, so he assumes that she had come home, got into her pickup truck, and took off. The next day, Tina fails to show up for work again.
The manager goes to her house, thinking, hey, I just need to make sure that everything's okay. She does a welfare check. And that's when she realizes, wait a minute, something's not right here.
She's so worried that maybe something happened. She walks around to the back of the house, and she notices that she can get into the house through one of the back windows. She has no idea what she's about to find.
Sheriff Barber's office.
Hi, this is Valerie Haythorne.
Yeah.
I'm at her house. It is covered in blood.
Okay. Hold on a second.
I need somebody out here.
Okay, let me transfer you. Hold on.
She continues into the house, and as she turns to go down the hallway towards the bathroom and the bedrooms, she stops. And she looks and she sees what appears to be blood on the carpet, oil stain, and this makes her believe something awful happened.
Hey, I've got Valerie Hawthorne on the phone. Okay. She's down at Kings Beach Drive. That's where that female's missing from. She got into the house and said the whole place is covered in blood.
Word is spreading very quickly that there is a lot of blood at Tina Herman's home.
Manager from the Dairy Queen who had permission to enter her house came out, did enter the house, saw blood in a couple areas of the house.
It was not something that I would want anybody else to have walked into.
Here's a picture that was taken during crime scene processing of some of the blood and that on the floor. You know, we see the blood. We know that something violent happened at the house, but not sure exactly what we have. This is a picture of the blood-stained bathtub. Oh, it's pretty messy. They called BCI, the Bureau of Criminal Identification and Investigation, to have their agents come out and process the crime scene. And when they arrive at Tina's house, just as they're getting there, Tina's boyfriend shows up. He advises them that he lives with Tina and that she has 2 children, Cody and Sarah. At this point, when who all is missing, Uganda, so we make contact with telling us that they were not in school on Thursday. Now we have 2 children missing and Tina, so all of them are missing at this point. The crime scene guys move into the garage and they see their Jeep parked in the garage. We run the license plate number and comes back to her neighbor, Stephanie. Now we've got, the woman that lives at a house, her 2 children, and now a neighbor friend that may be involved in this as well, and all missing, and no indication of where they are.
Excuse me, 4 people? In a remote part of Ohio? That just doesn't happen.
Over a dozen friends and neighbors gathered together this morning, scouring a wooded area in Knox County, looking for any sign of a missing family.
Here at a local gas station, they've posted a poster, pictures of the 4 people missing, and they're asked to call the Knox County Sheriff's Department if anybody has information.
Tina, by everything that I know about her, is really a good person, very dedicated worker, dedicated to her children. Just your regular mom, good person. Sarah's a typical 13-year-old girl. She does well in school. Sarah loves to play different sports and things. Her younger brother, Cody, is 11 years old. Good kid, just a typical boy, rambunctious and, full of energy.
I worked at Dairy Queen, and that's where I first met Tina. Tina brings her kids, Sarah and Cody, to Dairy Queen with her to work sometimes, and they'll help us. And we just have fun talking to them, joking around with them, goofing off with them. You would like Tina. She is such a bubbly person.
Tina and Stephanie were very good friends. Not only were they neighbors, living close to each other, but they were friends. So Stephanie is around 41 and Tina is about 32 years old. So Stephanie was a little bit older, but they did things together. They went to the gym together. Matter of fact, that was the last place that they had, both Tina and Stephanie had been seen, was at the gym together that morning.
This was an initial shock because this doesn't happen in Knox County. This is a quiet community. There were people who know Stephanie, Tina, Sarah, Cody, and they are concerned about their whereabouts.
We don't know what the result of the violence in the home, whoever the violence was against is still alive or if they're dead. What happened to them? We have no idea. We have no idea where they are. It appears as though at least one of the victims is injured, most likely severely, and they would most likely need medical attention as soon as possible. But at this point, we weren't sure exactly what we had. We need to use the media to get the word out about our missing people. Get that out as quickly as we can, so instead of having just a limited number of eyes looking for Tina and the two children, we have the whole community.
I had just started at 10 TV like 3 weeks prior to this, and our assignment manager brings up the fact that we're getting word about several people missing, and we're just going to send somebody to go check it out. And then I got sent up. I can recall driving out here and just thinking in my head, what are we going to find out today? I get to the Knox County Sheriff's Office, and I could immediately tell there's something going on here. I think we've all experienced that point in life where you can sense something is wrong because it's too quiet. Usually when you arrive to police departments, usually there's a couple of people in the front and it's a very active place. There was only one person at the desk. What I learned later on was that everybody was sent out. Because this case involved so many people, it was all hands on deck. The first press release or the second press release that came out said that there was a large amount of blood at Tina's home. And when you hear that as a journalist, you think, no, this is not a runaway case. There is a large police presence there, but no one really knows exactly the background of what happened. I look at my photographer and I say to him, is this really happening? Just because this is just not normal for 4 people to go missing. And he said to me, no, this is not normal at all. My goal in going there is to get as much information about who Tina Herman is, who Sarah Maynard is, who Cody is, who Stephanie is. Where are these people? And why aren't they responsive? Are they alive? Are they dead? Did they just randomly run away? No one just disappears.
I'm in the office in Columbus, Ohio. Harry called and said that they had a really horrendous crime scene. They hadn't determined a suspect yet. There was going to be a lot of interviews that needed to be done, and asked, who on the squad can come up and assist. My specialty on the task force was cellular phones, so I figured, well, I'm going to be working with cellular phones when I get here. So I'm tracing both Tina and Stephanie's phones, but they haven't been used. Where are they?
But what that tells us is that they're now no longer in communication with anybody. They're not using their cell phones. They're not making purchases. We're not finding them at home. It's almost like they disappeared off the face of the earth.
The community is on the lookout. They search trails along the Kokosing River. It's a search that's getting more and more desperate.
We need to, despite what the end result, we need to find them.
I think something bad happened.
Greg Borders still in shock that his live-in ex-girlfriend, Tina Herman, has seemingly vanished. Her two children, 13-year-old Sarah and 10-year-old Cody Maynard, along with family friend Stephanie Sprang, all gone too.
It's very frustrating. I mean, I'm sick to my stomach over this.
The suspects are obviously the boyfriends of both Tina and Stephanie.
She is dating a guy named Greg. Tina and Greg have been struggling, and Tina was looking to move out.
Anytime you have a case like this, you're always going to look at all of the familial relationships.
Tina's boyfriend says, hey, I left for work Wednesday morning. I had plans to go golfing with my friend. So after work, I spent the night at his house. Stephanie's boyfriend said, all I know is she didn't come home.
So I'm thinking, okay, well, I want to know what these boyfriends, do they both have phone numbers? Can I get their numbers? I need to get on top of their records and see if I can verify their statements.
Well, listen, I'm glad you came here because, we're going to talk to you just like we're talking to everybody. This is kind of what we do.
I literally have 2 stacks of phone records, one from Tina's boyfriend, one from Stephanie's boyfriend, and I'm looking at all of the use of their cellular phones over the last 24 to 48 hours.
Greg Borders hasn't heard from Tina since he got a text message on Wednesday.
Then on Wednesday, when you were working the overtime, she texted you around 11:30.
Yeah.
Was that on one of your lunch breaks or something? Or
I didn't see it. My next break was 12:12, and I had seen that she called when I was outside smoking a cigarette. She said she had fed the dog, and that was about it.
As we're looking at the boyfriend's phones, everything is checking out with what they're telling us. Their phones are using towers that would service the areas where they claim to be at, and they're not making calls that are unusual. So my associate detectives that are there running down leads on their alibis, we're all striking out. Striking out in the sense that, okay, well, these 2 guys are not our suspects.
Take your time, all right?
So now we're beginning to think, okay, who would do a crime with this level of violence? It's so personal. One by one, we're ruling out, your typical suspects. Tina and Stephanie didn't have any obvious enemies. Everyone that we're interviewing, coworkers, family members, friends, are not giving us any kind of indication that there's derogatory information about them, that there's any kind of spats going on, don't get along with a neighbor. These kind of investigations, they're pretty standard. You kind of go down those paths. We're following all of the regular paths, and we're not arriving with the suspects. So we've got a really horrendous crime scene, a really personal and violent crime, and everywhere we go, dead end. Dead end. Dead end. We have 0 suspects, 0 evidence, a total dead end, but all we know is that we have 4 missing people. It's pretty much a race against time to find anybody alive.
Sarah Maynard went missing Wednesday along with her mom Tina Herman, her 11-year-old brother Cody, and her mom's friend Stephanie Sprang. Friends and neighbors are now searching for any sign of the missing 4.
got up early this morning to come out and see what we could do to help.
You know, you walk along and you see things. You might see a piece of trash and you wonder, well, you know, that was maybe just a piece of trash, but you never know.
In fact, we saw a shoe over there, but it's been buried for quite a long time.
The focus on the investigation is at Herman's house in Howard, where an aircraft with infrared technology is flying overhead.
We also have officers on quad runners, checking fields, checking the areas around here.
We need to locate them as soon as possible, and we need the community's assistance on that.
Whether the searches are organized or ad hoc, the community is on the lookout.
I think everybody just wants to keep the mood uplifted. We don't know. We can't say either way. We haven't heard anything, and we just got to keep praying and keep our heads up.
We're not sure exactly what happened, if there's a continued threat to other community members, so we want people to be on alert that we've had this incident in Apple Valley.
As the search intensifies, so does the fear in this community.
I think everyone's just kind of really scared that something like this could happen so close to home.
There's a lot of nervousness around the community. People still don't know, is there an active serial killer? Was this targeted? People just don't know. So how could this happen? There was a lot of confusion all across Knox County. There was a lot of confusion even for us as journalists because this doesn't happen.
We've got our heads down and we're just looking for more leads and trying to figure out what's our next move. What are we going to do next? If they're alive, we need to find them. The question now is how.
The crime scene guys are out in the garage in Tina's house, and they see a bag from Walmart.
They look at the receipt, and what do you know? The date on this receipt is November 11th at like 12:08 a.m. And the first indication that they were missing came in the afternoon on Wednesday, November 10th.
And we're looking at the receipt, and it occurs to us it could be obviously connected to the violence that we saw in the house. For some reason, somebody felt it necessary to go out at 12:08 a.m. and purchase garbage bags and a tarp.
This receipt is gigantic. I mean, this is the key break in the investigation. Because up to this point, we're hitting walls everywhere we turn.
This picture depicts the Walmart bag and some of the garbage bags and tarp that were found during the crime scene processing when they went into the garage, and the receipt that allowed us to know that the individual had gone to Walmart at 12:08 a.m. the night or early the next morning to make that purchase. The detectives drive out to Walmart. The Walmart security officer is able to pull up the video, and he is showing the detectives, this guy just came in, he walks directly to where the garbage bags and the tarps are. He walks over towards the deli on his way back to the front of the store to pay, purchases a turkey sandwich, and then he continues over to the cash register. There happen to be some shirts on sale right there by the cash register, and he grabs one and he goes up to the cash register. Unfortunately, he paid in cash.
So now we have a visual of a male, and it's pretty good video. So we have something to go on.
We're able to see this individual leave the Walmart and walk out to his car, which turned out to be a silver Toyota Yaris, and he drives away. We couldn't get a license plate number, but at least we had a make and a model, and immediately we decide that we're going to run this information, see how many Toyota Yarises we have in the Knox County area. There can't be that many.
Investigators are looking at registration records for that particular vehicle type in this particular county, come up with just a few, and they start sorting down through them, and lo and behold, they find an individual, Matthew Huffman. And that driver's license photo has Matthew wearing the camouflage shirt depicted in the Walmart security video. So this is like pennies from heaven. It's one of those things, it's just too unbelievable. The luck is starting to go our way. We got our guy, but if our suspect isn't the perpetrator, then we're back to square one. There's 4 people that are missing.
We're talking about 2 young children. How scared Cody and Sarah must be right now, if they're even still alive. You're talking now about several days they have been missing. People are anxious. People are nervous. People want answers.
So now we have a suspect, Matthew Huffman, and we pull up Matthew's information.
So we're finding out who he is.
We're able to see he had a criminal record.
He's got priors in Colorado, burglary, arson. He's been in prison.
And comes out after 6 years, and now he's back in Knox County. And he hooks up with a tree trimming company and starts cutting trees. Well, when they discovered that he had a criminal record, they fired him. Now Hoffman's unemployed and he's hanging out in Mount Vernon. His mom lives in Apple Valley, not too far from Tina's house. He's got a girlfriend at the time. They get into a fight, and he grabs the girl and pushes her up against a wall and tries to strangle her. She contacts the Knox County Sheriff's Office and makes a report, but she doesn't want to press charges against him. So they've got this report on file that he had assaulted her, his girlfriend.
There's information on the reports that provide us with his cell phone number. So then we're calling the cell phone company that provides service to his phone, verifying that he's the subscriber. And we, of course, have to get legal process search warrants in order to gain this information. So now it's a race against time to find Matthew. It's pins and needles. You're rush. We got to get the search warrant written. You're looking for that judge. You're going to wake him up. It's probably 3:30 in the morning right now. Once we get the judge's signature and the warrants get served on the service provider, they give us the information on the phone that we're looking at. We put that information into our equipment and we go out and actively begin to search for the phone. We put all of the information in the Stingray. It's called a Stingray. So every time it sees a new cell tower signal, it registers with that cell tower. It says, hi, I'm a Sprint phone, you're a Sprint tower, and I see you, and they communicate a little bit. But our equipment is looking for one particular registration, one particular device ID. We've locked the phone up, and it's in the area of Matthew Huffman's known address. We kind of back off where we can see the house. We can still capture the signal. We notify SWAT. So Knox County has a multi-agency SWAT team. This is considered a high-risk entry that they're about to do. You know, we're investigating a possibly quadruple homicide because we really don't know yet. At the same time, we have a second team that's out at the lake out in Howard, Ohio. Matthew's mother still has a house out here, and we didn't know for sure whether Matthew was at his home in Mount Vernon or whether he was out here in Howard. And the thing is that at this point we know that Matthew's mother's home is less than a half a mile from the crime scene. You can see from the area here that the Maynard home, it sits off by itself. It's a quiet location, lots of woods around it. Go up a small hill here, less than half a mile away from the crime scene, is the house that Matthew Huffman's mother and stepfather lived in. So he was very familiar with the area.
We don't want to hit one place that might tip off Hoffman that we're looking for him, so we want to hit both locations at the same time.
We're going to wait until 8 o'clock. It's going to be late by that time. We'll hit both locations simultaneously and see if we capture him.
There's no guarantee that he'll be there, but those are the best two options that we have, and time is of the essence. Looking at the amount of blood and everything that was found at the home, we didn't know what we had, but we just knew that we had to move fast. Well, we left the sheriff's office and went to our two locations. We made contact with each other. And, hey, are you guys all set up? You ready to move? And we were all set to go. We had the warrants.
Eight o'clock comes. We don't have any idea what we're going to find when the doors come open. We don't know whether there's anybody else involved.
I'm excited, as I always am. There's an element of danger when you're about to potentially take somebody's freedom from them. You don't know how they're going to react, what you're going to find. We didn't know where the family members were. We didn't know how Hoffman was going to react. Was he armed? Was he going to start shooting at us? We had no idea. We were staging just down the road from Hoffman's mother's house. I'm leading the way. We got our guns out because we don't know what we're going to find.
It's huge. They're sitting in the truck, hunkered down, eyes on the house, running the gear. We don't want to get discovered. We're heading up to 0 hour. There's been a lot of investigation, a lot of late nights since November 10th, and it's the morning of the 14th. This could be it.
I'm at the mother's house, and at 8 a.m. we hit both locations and pound on the door. Hi. Let us in. And a couple other gentlemen came to the door and the credentials and said, we're FBI. Matthew here.
Deputies are announced.
At this, we knew that Matthew had his mother's address, or were any of the family members there, so basically struck out at that home. I thought I'd call the other team at Hoffman's house, make contact, and see if they had any luck.
SWAT teams do a knock and announce. Matthew, come to the door. Matthew's at the door. Here's a mess, kind of just disoriented. He lets us in. Almost of relief. There's no struggle, there's no fight. Almost as though he knew that this was going to happen.
I drive to Matthew's house in Mount Vernon.
Entering the house was really a bizarre experience. The first thing that I am struck by is there are tons of leaves everywhere. You step inside the front door, and right immediately off to your right is a big room, literally filled with a pile of leaves, probably 4 or 5 feet high.
I looked at one of the deputies and I said, have we checked that pile to see if there's anybody in there? And they said, yes, we've searched that, but I want to show you some.
I'm looking through maybe a little sitting room into the kitchen, and there's some bizarre writing, painting on the wall.
He takes me into the kitchen. He walks over to the refrigerator and there's a freezer on the top part of the refrigerator, and he goes, look at this. So he opens up the freezer. I'm looking at a couple of dead squirrels just laying there frozen. That was pretty earth-shattering.
The house is a disarray. It's just disheveled. There's not a lot of furniture. It's almost like it's a vacant structure. It's filled with stuff you don't expect to see in your house. It's very cold. This is November, and it's probably 40 or 50 degrees outside, and it's rainy, and there's obviously no heat. So, I mean, it's really chilly. It's damp. I walked into the bathroom, and every wall of the bathroom is lined with a plastic bag filled with leaves and stapled to the wall. Neatly, uniformly stapled to the wall.
I never saw anything like that.
This is like really bizarre stuff. You just don't see this kind of thing. It's just a huge pile of leaves stapled to the wall. It's just crazy. It's like a house of horror. I'm going to guess that house is probably 60 to 100 years old. It's an old house. It's been remodeled. Walls have been put up and taken down. So it's kind of, it's an odd floor plan. There's hallways that have been turned to closets, don't lead anywhere.
The longer it takes for the sheriff's office to find them, the less likely that person is going to be alive.
It took them a little bit of time to get through each one of the rooms. And they're coming to this last room, and there's furniture in front of it. It's like, okay, well, why do you have furniture in front of the door? That's an odd thing to block off a door. They cleared that stuff out of the way. And when you open that door, what you find is a very steep set of narrow steps leading down into this dank, dark basement. Well, it's a great hiding place, but who would want to be down there? As you go down those steps, you kind of get to like a little landing, and then you look off to your left, it's like a little root cellar. Within a few minutes, I was face to face with Sarah Maynard. I'm sorry. I've never found anybody alive like that. And it was unbelievable. I mean, we rescued this girl, and it was unbelievable. It gets communicated back on the police radio that, we've got a girl in the basement, and she's alive.
When we got confirmation from the sheriff's office that Sarah is alive and well, there was not one person in this town or in this community that didn't rejoice.
Those loud noises, boom, boom, get down. And I'm like, I'm confused. They laid there, still scared. I don't know what's going on. Is it somebody else here to hurt me? Because, I couldn't see nothing.
It is an image that's burned into my mind.
I seen a man standing in front of me and said, "You're about to be saved."
She is surrounded by leaves. There's blankets all around her. Her hair is kind of, she's got blonde hair, and it's just bedhead, it's just disheveled, and she's bewildered. She's like, a big-eyed doe, she's just bewildered.
Not even like 5 minutes later, they all came running down the steps, And all I remember is I seen helmets and black suits. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Her hands were in socks and wrapped with duct tape. She was tied up like that was to take away her dexterity so that she was not able to untie her bindings or escape, turn a lock, turn a doorknob.
I went to sit up and they said, if you're Sarah Maynard, let me see your hands. And I put my hands up, still tied. And they said, we're not here to hurt you, we're here to save you.
This young girl has lived through an unbelievable experience the last 3 days. And she's being rescued. It had to be surreal.
Just was confused. I'm like, am I just seeing something or is this real?
I recall her being quiet. I don't remember her having tears. I don't remember her even saying a word. I think that she was just awestruck.
I was too overwhelmed. Everybody was asking me a bunch of questions. You know, I'm still a little girl. You know, I'm a kid. And I'm still scared. I don't even know how to talk. Really, you know, they're wanting all these answers, and I don't really know what to say.
She has no idea what has happened to her family. She's worried about Cody.
You know, I'm super cold, and all I want to do is escape. That's the only thing I kept thinking is I just want to escape. But I was so mind-blown by everything going on. I didn't even know what day it was. I didn't even know. I forgot the date. Didn't know what time it was. I just had laid on the bed of leaves tied up. There was no window. It was pure dark. 100% dark. I feel like it was so dark that a lot of times he came down there to check on me. I hadn't even seen him because it was so dark down there. I would hear the door open. I just felt he was just going to end up killing me. That's all I kept thinking. Hopefully somebody finds me.
We were so freaked out by the fact that, oh my gosh, even with this horrendous crime scene, even with everything we had seen up to that point, we have Sarah and she's alive.
I was free. I know I was free. But I was still scared.
They've arrested Matthew and they've located Sarah, but we still have 3 people missing.
Now, you know, it's doubling down on the search of the house. Maybe we're going to find somebody else.
I go back up the stairs and I'm walking around the house.
The SWAT team does room by room search. SWAT's cleared the house. Immediately, though, you go from joy to where the heck are these other people at?
They take me to the hospital. And then I'm sitting there, and then there's a TV on, and they have my story on the TV.
Sheriff, are you still treating this as a missing persons, or is this now a murder investigation?
As of right now, we have no one that we are aware of who is deceased, so it continues as a missing persons investigation.
I'm like, oh, that's my mom. That's my brother. And then Stephanie, and I'm like, what the heck? We're missing.
The minutes feel like hours. The hours feel like days. And the days are feeling like weeks.
We still have 3 people missing. We've got Tina missing, we got Stephanie missing, and Cody missing. I need to find out those answers so we know what we need to do to recover them.
Even after Matthew Hoffman was arrested, the story still wasn't over.
The Basement, A Vanishing in Apple Valley concludes tomorrow night at 10. And if you or someone you know has been affected by what you've seen tonight, find advice and support at channel5.com/helplines. On 5, can tech prevent crime before it's happened? Person of interest. Stream now on 5. Next, emergency call-out.
You might ask yourselves, who, other than a murderer, would conceal a body? Who other than a murderer would want to conceal the cause of death?
Good afternoon, Police Scotland.
We've just come into an old building and there's like a full skeleton.
Right, okay, just stay where you are. Officers have been dispatched, okay?
At the end of all of the work you carried out, you would be unable to say whether this man had died a natural death or an unnatural one.
Yes, I can't say.
Keep thinking to yourselves, how can I say that this was murder? When the prosecutor acknowledges he's got no evidence to show how the death occurred.
Did you have a brother, Ian Coots?
Yes. I'm worried that because they don't know how Ian died, that they might find him not guilty.
The accused, David Barnes, sits in that dock, innocent, presumed innocent by our law.
There is only one sentence for murder, and that is life in prison. If it's not proved that the accused assaulted and murdered Ian Coots, then you must acquit.
When you consider all of the evidence, I suggest that what will emerge is a compelling, convincing case in which you will find David Barnes guilty of the murder and guilty of attempting to defeat the ends of justice.
Your verdict must not be based on speculation or guesswork. The only verdict open to you is one of murder. If it's not murder, it's nothing.
This is a murder trial and it involves the death of a man called Ian Coots, who was last seen alive on the 2nd of September 2019. The accused in this case, David Barnes, was someone who was known to Ian Coots. I will suggest that David Barnes was responsible for the death and he had a motive. The two biggest challenges in this case is when did death occur and how did death occur? I have to establish that death was as a result of murder.
My defence is that the accused is presumed innocent. Let the prosecutor prove otherwise. We are not seeking to establish the truth. The criminal trial is not about truth, it's about proof. The focus is whether the allegations made by the state against the citizen can be proved or not. You prove it.
David Barnes, please take a seat.
Because if you don't prove it, the law says David Barnes is an innocent man.
That's which one?
My Lord, I appear on behalf of the panel, David Barnes. He pleads not guilty.
Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, because of the presumption of innocence and the burden of proof, the prosecution case goes first. Advocate Dick.
Thank you, my lord. The first witness for the Crown is James Fenton.
Okay. Raise your right hand, take the oath. Repeat after me the following words. I do solemnly and sincerely.
I do solemnly and sincerely.
And truly.
And truly.
Declare and affirm.
Declare and affirm.
That I will tell the truth.
That I will tell the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
Nothing but the truth.
Okay. Advocate Deputy.
Do you have a hobby which involves visiting disused and abandoned properties?
Yes.
And do you just explore these buildings? Do you take photographs?
Yes.
On the 27th of September 2020, were you intending to go and explore Whitehill Industrial Estate?
Yes.
I'm going to play some drone footage I'd like you to watch. Do you recognise this as the Whitehill Industrial Estate?
Yes.
Did you enter one of these units?
Yes, we'd been looking in most of them.
Right. Okay. You see there what appears to be Unit 99. Did you enter that part?
Yes.
Do you see to the right there's a small room?
Yes.
Did you go into that area?
Yes.
What did you find?
First, I thought it was just like animal bones. And then I went in and I had a bit of a look, but there was stuff over the top. So I kicked like a wee black tray off the top of it. And then that's when I seen like a foot. And then when I looked in further, you could see the back of the skull up the other end. It was when I noticed like the mummified skin on the back of the neck and on the back of the ankle.
My lord, I propose to show a photograph of the remains, and I just give notice, ladies and gentlemen, as to what they're about to see.
So I take it you've selected it's for information rather than...
It is.
The shot.
Consider carefully whether it's necessary and how often it should be done.
Okay, Advocate Depute, when you're ready.
And is that what you saw on that occasion?
Yes.
Thank you. Could we take that off, please? Having discovered the remains, did you phone the police?
Yes.
And tell them what you'd found?
Yes.
I had never been to this area before. I was called out to the scene. It was an area that had just been completely neglected for many, many years. And this individual had been callously dumped. It was a pretty sad scene, to be honest. Certainly not where you want your loved one's final resting place to be. Pretty much looks the same as it did on the day that I first came here. Dumping ground for those that choose to fly tip. Well, there's old sofas and fridges and parts of cars and everything here. You were thinking, why? Why have you ended up here? Why have you died and why are you in Whitehill Industrial Estate? It was just lying from head at the left and feet propped up against the wall on the right there. When I saw the remains, my first thought was there was no remnants of clothing really other than one shoe. And it was quite clear to me and to others that there was something suspicious around this death. The first big question in my mind was, who is this person? We really couldn't take the case any further forward until we identified who the person was.
Advocate Deputy.
Thank you, my lord. Next witness is Detective Sergeant Scott Roxburgh. Were you deployed as the crime scene manager in connection with human remains discovered at Whitehill Industrial Estate, Glenrothes?
I was, yes.
Was one of the first objectives to discover the identity of the remains?
Yes, there was, yes.
Did that involve specialists with skills in facial reconstruction?
It did, yes.
Was it possible to create an image as to how this person might have looked in life?
It was, yes.
And I've put on the screen production number 14, and is that the image that was created?
Yes, that's the image that was created, yes. when you see the person, you can see their eyes, you can see what they would have looked like. It certainly makes things a lot more real. You then start to ask yourself who he is. Does he have family? Are his parents still alive? Has he got children? You're just desperate for information. We all thought there's a good chance that this person's going to be on the DNA database, but that wasn't the case. We searched the missing person database, didn't get any hits, so we looked at known homeless individuals that were known to sleep rough in the local area, but we didn't seem to be getting any breaks whatsoever, no matter how hard we tried. The image was released to the media by the DCI.
Our inquiries up to this point have been unable to identify this man, and we know that he was at least 35 years of age. This man may have been a father, may have been a brother, he may have been an uncle. My hope is that the family will recognise the man and be able to provide us with information that will assist in identifying him.
It was only after a few hours of that going out that a call came into the incident room. A member of Fife Council, he said that she thought that the image that had been put out in the media resembled that of Ian Cootes. And she provided a bit of context around that with regards to Ian Cootes' council house having been abandoned, which was near to where the remains were found in Kinglassie. And from that point on, the investigation really gathered pace.
It's a matter of agreement that the remains are those of Mr. Ian Cootes, last seen in person on the 2nd September 2019 and remains found on the 27th of September 2020. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you very much.
I remember seeing on the news that remains had been found in Glenrothes. Never for 1 minute thinking it would be my brother. But it was Ian. He was the oldest of the family. There was 10 years between us. I was the baby. Ian is a wee boy. And it looks like my mum's gave him a really bad haircut. Growing up, Ian was a bit of a cheeky chappy, always in a wee bit of bother. When Ian was 16, he left the house to join the army. I was only 6 at the time. Looking back, I think he struggled when he came out of the army, getting used to civilian life. And there was probably a lot more going on behind the scenes that we just didn't pick up on. But just like a lot of families do, you grow apart, you lead different lives, you have kids, you move away, and that's what happened to me and Ian. But we're still brother and sister and we still loved each other. He was just a nice, simple man that wouldn't do anybody any harm whatsoever. He lived in a nice wee peaceful area, and the thought of like, who could have done that to you and why would they have done that? In my head, there was nothing to gain from doing that to Ian. Nothing. He was just a simple man living a simple life. And that got took away from him.
The next witness is Audrey Reid. Could we put the computer on, please? Do you recognise that as a picture of Ian?
Yes.
Is Ian the person sitting next to the table with his arms outstretched?
Yes.
When was the last time you saw Ian Cootes?
Quite a few years ago, round about 2018.
As of 2018, when was the time prior to that you'd been in touch with him?
I couldn't say.
Right. But should we understand then that you were not in constant contact with him? Or he with you? Is that correct? Now, in 2019, I don't need an address, but where were you living?
Near Montrose.
Near Montrose?
In Angus.
Right. Were you residing in England in 2019?
No.
No. There is an element of theatre in a trial. Some evidence will be led which might not seem important at the time, but will have relevance to evidence led later in the case. Was there any other sister of Ian's residing in England in 2019?
No.
No. Okay, thank you. Was he married at one point?
He was.
And did he have children?
Yes, 3 children.
3 children, right. Would it be fair to say that for various reasons you had drifted apart?
Yes.
Yes.
My mum was married to our dad for 10 plus years, and the dynamics in the relationship, it just broke down. So my mum felt it best that, you know, if we were to leave. How old were you? You were?
I think about 5 to 6.
That was it, and I was about 2, 2.5.
Yeah, I moved down to Colchester. Yeah. I remember leaving that day. We saw them then and then didn't see them again until I was an adult.
I think we tried to sort of form a bond again, didn't we? But it was quite difficult.
It was complicated.
Yeah.
And yeah, then I haven't seen him for like 10 years or 11 years until obviously we got this phone call.
I just wanted to be here because he was still our dad and he really died in an undignified way. You kind of almost feel a sense of guilt in a way because we were estranged, but he was still our dad and there's still a lot of feelings there. You know, we could have had that chance to get back in contact with him, but the fact that someone's taken that chance away for us to ever be able to reconnect with him, I think that was quite gut-wrenching.
What we can do, Pete?
Thank you, my lord. The next witness is Kerry-Ann Shearer. Dr. Shearer is a pathologist. And what is meant by the term forensic pathologist?
A forensic pathologist is a pathologist who looks to ascertain the cause of death in cases.
In broad terms, just describe how you went about your task with these remains.
So this was a very difficult and complicated case, trying to determine how long the skeleton had been at the scene, and is this where this person was killed, or had they been killed somewhere else and brought to this scene? The body underwent a full CT examination at the time of the post-mortem.
Were you able to ascertain a cause of death in this case?
I wasn't, no.
Now, could you turn to page 4, please? Could you read that for us, please?
The general absence of skin and soft tissue, in addition to no chest or abdominal organs being present, makes it impossible to ascertain the cause of death in this case. But notably, there was evidence of charring to a number of different areas of soft tissue and bone.
So would one possible explanation for the charring be that someone attempted to set fire to the skeleton?
Yes.
Right, thank you very much.
The question of how death was caused is absolutely fundamental to this case. The question which the pathologist wants to answer in every case was not answered here. If the prosecutor doesn't know how they died, and the very best medical scientific evidence can't say how they died, then how can the prosecution prove that he was murdered, and murdered by David Barnes? And I say they can't. And that's the focus of my attack.
Dr. Shearer, you will very rarely find yourself unable to ascertain a cause of death. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, yes. We always want to find the cause of death.
But at the end of all of the work you carried out and all of the expertise you brought to bear, you would be unable to say whether this man had died a natural death or an unnatural one.
Yes, I can't say.
I say there's a gap created by the pathologist's evidence. It's a gap which covers the fundamental question in the case. When, where and how, and by whom, was Ian Cootes murdered? And if you can't answer the when, where and how, you don't get to ask the question, by whom? And that's the gap. That's where the story breaks down. But it's a pretty fundamental point, which I have to exploit.
Advocate Dick.
Thank you, my lord. The next witness is Valerie Henderson. This is what we term a circumstantial case. I don't have direct evidence of what occurred to Ian Cootes that led to his death. So the task is to build a case on the surrounding circumstances, which would start with evidence of why someone would want to harm Ian Cootes. What was your role in 2019?
Okay, so people claiming benefits, universal credit, would be allocated to work coaches, and we would try and help them look for work.
Did that involve someone called Ian Cootes?
Yes.
Now, could you have before you, please, Crown Production 42?
Yes, this is his universal credit records, yeah.
But on the 27th of August 2019, was it right to say he was due to receive quite a bit of back money, £2,017.76 to be paid, so he would get that as benefit.
Yes.
So in August of 2019, he was going to be a bit more flush with money than he would normally be. Would that be accurate? All right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mixwell?
I have no cross-examination. Thank you.
Thank you.
The prosecution may say there's clear evidence of a motive for murder. It doesn't make sense to me. I would hope the jury would ask themselves the question, would someone really murder another human being for that sum of money? If the jury don't accept that, the risk the prosecutor runs is that he weakens his case for the murder by pinning his case on a motive.
Okay, right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll adjourn now and we'll see you tomorrow sharp at 10 o'clock.
Once we'd identified Ian, it was really, really important to gather all the victimology. So who is the victim? How do they lead their life? What do they do? What do they spend their money on? Nobody had a bad word to say about Ian. You know, and he was just generally known for being a cheery, jovial chap about the village. He was a man of routine, went to the same shops at the same time on the same day of the week. We looked at his finances, for example. He spent his money in the same pattern for a number of years, and it was quite clear that after September 2019 there was a complete change in that pattern of spending. His house was just up here on the right-hand side. Ian stayed in what's typically known as a 4 in a block, and neighbours both upstairs through the wall and diagonally upstairs from him were all able to provide little bits of evidence, and it was quite clear that there was a very close association with David Barnes, and that he was doing some decorating work for Ian in the flat. So that's Ian's front door right in front of me. The upstairs neighbours, they turned out to be really significant witnesses.
Thank you, my lord. The next witness is Kevin O'Donoghue. Could we put the screen on label 51 to Do you recognise that as Main Street, Kinglassie, in the block of flats?
Yes.
Is that the entrance to Ian's property?
Yes, and the entrance to mine is the side. That's it, that's my entrance, yes.
Did you get to know Ian Coots reasonably well as a neighbour?
Yeah, he was always out in his garden weeding, and any time I would see him, he'd say hello.
Were you aware of work being undertaken in his flat?
From memory, I think he was having a new bathroom fitted, or flooring even.
And was that around the time he went missing?
Yes, it was, yes.
Did you see the workmen attending for that purpose? Did you ever speak to the workmen about where Ian was?
Yes.
Could you have, before your Crown production, 179?
Thank you.
Well, if I just read it to you.
Yeah.
The next time I saw the workman at the house, he told me Ian definitely wasn't coming back, as he was going to live with his sister in England. Is that what it says in the statement?
It does say that, yes.
Did something happen involving your wheelie bin?
It did, yes. This was obviously the time Ian went missing. I saw the guy who was doing the work putting a bin in the back of his car.
What type of car was it?
It was a silver Volkswagen Golf.
Could we put the screen on, please? Photograph number 1. Does that look like the car?
Yes.
That you saw? Did you take that photograph?
No, my wife did.
Just tell us what you saw happen.
It was actually putting the bin in the, through the back for the boot.
Did you form the impression that there was something heavy in the bin?
Heavier than an empty bin, yes.
As a consequence of that, did you send a text message?
Yes, I did. I sent it the day after to Ian asking, why's the guy taking my bin?
So, if the date there is Wednesday, 4th September 2019, yesterday would be the 3rd of September 2019. Do you agree?
Yes.
So that was that when it happened? Okay. Have you ever been to Whitehill Industrial Estate in Glenrothes?
No.
Had you ever gone into any of the disused units?
Absolutely not.
No. Could you look, please, at Crown production number 24? Is that or part of a letter which you had received at some point?
Yeah, it's basically my overdraft.
And ultimately, did you discard that letter in your grey bin?
Yes.
Right. Was that the grey bin that you saw the workman with?
Yes.
Yes. If this piece of paper was found at Whitehill Industrial Estate, could you offer any explanation as to how it got there?
Not by myself, no.
Not by yourself?
No.
Thank you. Could you describe the person who was trying to get the bin into the back of the car?
Kind of tallish, slimish build.
Could you look round the court and tell me if you see anyone who resembles him?
No, I can't. No.
Okay. All right, thank you. Had Mr. O'Donoghue identified the accused as the man he saw, that would have absolutely cemented the case, because our case is that Ian Coots was in that wheelie bin and that David Barnes was responsible for the murder. So I have to think about other means of making that link.
Advocate Deputy.
Thank you, my lord. The next witness is Crown Witness number 18, and I understand the arrangements are in place.
Yeah, and it's a live link, isn't it?
It's a live link.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Okay, and can you see and hear me okay?
Yes.
Were you in a relationship with a man by the name of David Barnes?
Yes.
When did that relationship start?
August 2019.
Were you in fairly frequent contact by means of text messages?
Yes.
On the 3rd of September 2019, Were you trying to get in touch with him that day?
Yes.
Were you having any success?
No.
I'm going to show you a document. It's a series of text messages. And do you see that the message says this? Don't rush yourself. You're clearly busy, that you've practically went off the radar for messages and didn't answer. Is that a message you sent to David Barnes's device?
Yes.
Do you see the next message? A message from David Barnes's device. I forgot to turn my data on. Sorry, babe. I'm on way home now. Exclamation mark and a series of crosses or kisses. Do you see that message?
Yes.
Over the following months, did he appear to be relatively wealthy compared to the months prior to September 2019?
Yes.
Do you know the source of that income?
No.
Now, this is production number 30. Do you recognise that vehicle?
Yes. It looks like my car.
Do you recognise the person in the vehicle?
No.
Look at the second photograph. Close up. Do you see that? Do you recognise?
David Barnes.
That's David Barnes. And he's holding something, is that right? Do you know what that is?
Phone.
Did you recognise the phone as well as David Barnes?
Yes. It's familiar to the phone he had.
You can see a slightly orange surround on the phone. Is that how his phone was?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Bishop's Warner, you've crossed?
No cross, thank you.
Okay.
The witness was able to identify the accused as the person in that photograph. But the challenge for me is to lead evidence that will demonstrate a link, evidentially, between the accused and the industrial estate. Were you asked to assist in the investigation by the police into the death of Ian Cootes?
Yes, that is correct.
What was your task in that case?
I was asked to look at material from Volkswagen Golf, and in particular the carpet from the front footwell. This contains all the material that potentially transfers from the driver of that vehicle, transferred from a place they'd been.
What did you find there?
What we recovered was plant material, and it was the same species as found outside the industrial units in Glenrothes.
Could that be explained as one possible explanation that plant material, as you've described, has been uplifted from Unit 99 Whitehill Industrial Estate and has come into contact with the carpet of the Volkswagen car?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, thank you.
So what? So what if you conclude that David Barnes had some involvement in depositing the remains of Ian Cootes in that place, using that wheelie bin? So what? Because bear in mind the question is this: not did he deposit the remains there, but did he murder him? And those are two different questions, and they are capable of having two different answers.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the evidence you're going to hear today. Keep an open mind. Do not begin to decide this case until you've heard all of the evidence. Your role is as judges, not detectives, not your job to solve the case.
Every time he walked into that court, I stared at him and never took my eyes off him. Just to say, you're not winning. That's why. I see you. And I wanted him to see me and his daughters was there because Ian had a family. And I want him to see that. He had people that loved him.
Because I'm not able to establish how Ian Cootes died, if the accused were to say that he came upon Ian Cootes in his apartment and found him dead, then there's nothing I could do to contradict that. That would result in an acquittal if that was accepted by the jury. So I had to think about that and counter it. Could you have before you, please, Crown Production number 38? And is that a transcript of the interview which took place at Falkirk Police Office on the 15th of December 2021?
Yes.
Would it be correct to say that throughout most of the interview, Mr. Barnes essentially responded by saying no comment?
Yes.
Now, could we put the screen on, please? Do you recognise that as an image from the interview with Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
You've not gone into the house and found him lying there dead. Gone, you know what? Got his PIN number. I'm in a really bad place. So that's not happened? No. That's not happened.
Come on. Thank you. So in that excerpt, your colleague suggested a scenario. So you've not gone into the house and found him lying there dead and gone, you know what, I've got his PIN number, I'm in a really bad place, so that's not happened. And Mr. Barnes replied, no.
Yes.
Okay.
The prosecution have taken one aspect of a lengthy interview and presented it as important evidence. And I intend that the jury should hear the whole context. Because this is a man whose word could not be relied upon at all, who lied about all sorts of things.
Mr. Wickswell.
Thank you. One thing you couldn't expect from David Barnes at that interview was an honest answer to any question.
Good morning, Detective Constable Young. What we would see if we played the whole interview or read through the whole transcript is the ridiculous lies he had told in other contexts. Is that correct?
Yes.
You'd had a look at medical records for him in which he had claimed some things to have happened which were complete rubbish. Is that right?
Yes.
Claimed he'd been a tree surgeon who'd been operating a chainsaw and fallen out of a tree and dislocated his shoulder. Didn't he?
Yes.
And that was just rubbish.
I put it to Mr. Barnes during the interview that was a lie, yes.
So there were many examples which you were able to put to him of just the most ridiculous lies being told by him.
In regards to those points that you've... Yeah.
And we go to page 86, towards the foot of that, your colleagues asking, so you've not gone into the house and found him lying there dead and gone, you know what, I've got his PIN number, I'm in a really bad place, so that's not happened. And David Barnes says no. You wouldn't know whether he was telling the truth or lying about that when he said no.
Yes.
When Mr. Barnes answers questions in this interview, you've no idea whether he's telling the truth or lying. Thank you.
Chances are that Mr. Barnes will be furious that I did that. But it was a tactical decision, and that's what I'm there for, to make those decisions. I need the jury to realise that his truthfulness is suspect, so that they don't exclude the very real possibility that that scenario could have explained everything that happened in this case, which would make him not a murderer.
Advocate Depute.
Thank you, my Lord. A substantial amount of evidence has been agreed and is embodied in a joint minute. There's no doubt this will save several days of court time.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, the facts set out in the joint minute of agreement must be accepted by you as proven fact, as conclusively proved, and must be taken into account when you come to deliberate and consider your verdicts. I'll invite the Crown Junior, Miss Campbell, to read it to you.
My trial strategy is that some event took place on the 3rd of September and that Ian Cootes died at the hands of the accused. I don't know how, but when you look at his conduct in the immediate aftermath, then this is a compelling case for murder.
Between 31st August 2019 and 18th January 2020, David Barnes did order a variety of goods and services at a total cost of £606.69 and did make payment via a PayPal account held by Ian Cootes. 2. On various occasions between September 2019 and January 2020, David Barnes did, by means of a Nationwide Building Society bank card in the name of Ian Cootes, obtain fuel to the value of £398.39. On 29th of October 2019, David Barnes did apply for credit facilities and a credit card in the name of Ian Cootes, and in support of the
I would hope the jury have that mental picture of David Barnes in these various places, just thinking about the fact he is plundering the money of a deceased person.
18. On 9th of December 2019, at Rothes Hall, David Barnes did pretend that he was the lawful holder of a bank card in the name of Ian Cootes to purchase tickets for an entertainment show, and did thus induce it. 28. David Barnes did use a bank card in the name of Ian Cootes, and from automatic teller machines did obtain £5,600.
It's not just 1 or 2 transactions. There are 91 occasions when he assumes the identity of Ian Cootes.
Thank you.
With that, I formally close the Crown case.
The joint minutes point significantly to David Barnes having committed various crimes of fraud. But as for winning the prosecution case in their own right, no, they don't. And they don't have me on the ropes because there are things that are not disputed. I have to acknowledge and accept that they're right, but still come to the question, what is it about those agreed facts which can make you sure that David Barnes murdered Ian Cootes?
Mr McSwan, you want some time just to consider the...
Yes, but clearly an important stage of the trial has been reached. It is desirable that at this stage counsel have the opportunity to take instructions, and I would welcome an opportunity to have some further time.
Well, you're well entitled to it. Right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr McSwan has requested to have some time just to reflect on where he is in relation to the defence case. So the best thing to do is to adjourn now, and we'll see you at 2 o'clock.
In every trial, the question will arise, should the accused give evidence? When the question arises, I will say, if you give evidence and you're convicted, you will spend the rest of your sentence wishing you hadn't. And if you don't give evidence and you're convicted, you will spend the rest of your sentence wishing you had. The decision is always for the accused. I can't make that decision for them.
Court!
Mr McSwan.
Thank you, Lord. Well, Lord, I'm grateful for the opportunity to consider the position at the close of the Crown case and take instructions from David Barnes, and I can advise the court that in consequence of that there will be no evidence led or given on behalf of the accused.
Okay. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the evidence you're going to hear in the case. So the next stage in procedure is to hear speeches on Wednesday morning. Okay, so see you Wednesday, 10 o'clock.
Court!
The biggest challenge in this case is that we do not have a cause of death. The jury will be invited to convict someone of the murder of a man when we have no idea how he died. So that's quite a challenge. I have to explain how the surrounding evidence is such that it would allow an inference that the accused was responsible for his death, because they may well ask themselves, how can we convict someone of murder when we don't know what he did?
The prosecution does not have a crime scene where the murder took place. They don't have a means by which the murder was achieved. They don't have a murder weapon. They don't have any proof of injuries. They don't have any eyewitness. They don't have anyone hearing the kind of sounds of a disturbance one might associate with a murderous attack. And in most cases of murder, you would expect them to have some or all of these. If you don't have these things, the prosecution can be satisfied that David Barnes murdered Ian Cootes. But the question is, can the jury be satisfied? And I say they can't.
Call the Diet, His Majesty's Advocate against David Barnes. Please take a seat.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're about to hear speeches, so when you're ready, Advocate.
May it please the court. On the 27th of September 2020, James Fenton found something he did not expect. A human skeleton. And you know that the remains are those of the late Ian Cootes. You might ask yourselves who, other than a murderer, would conceal a body. David Barnes assumed the identity of Ian Cootes and proceeded to avail himself of his money and pretended to be him in order to acquire goods and services. How would he be able to...
None of that was disputed. It may be you have little difficulty in accepting the Crown's submissions that he was a liar and a fraudster and a thief and a cheat. But how far does that take you in considering the charge of murder? Convicting him of murder because you think he should be punished for fraud would not at all be the right thing to do. Charge 8...
David Barnes tells people Ian Cootes is with his sister in England. Ian Cootes didn't have a sister living in England. Why is he perpetrating this lie that Ian Cootes is somewhere else? Why would he do that unless he was wanting to divert attention away from his own conduct? You'll recall what the policeman said. So this is not a case of you just finding him dead and taking advantage of the fact you knew his PIN number. What did David Barnes respond to that? He said no. He said no.
So there's a plausible scenario which fits all of the evidence in the same way as the prosecution's theory does. And if it's just a case of saying, well, which scenario are we to prefer? I can help you with that. The presumption of innocence. David Barnes sits in that dock, innocent, presumed innocent by our law.
Crown never has to prove a motive, but I suggest there was a motive here, and that is financial gain. I suggest Ian Cootes was in that bin, that David Barnes killed Ian Cootes and put him in the bin, took the bin and emptied the bin out in Unit 99. But there is more. There is more. David Barnes is attempting to burn the body to conceal the identity, to conceal the cause of his death. Therefore, I invite you to find David Barnes guilty of the murder and guilty of attempting to defeat the ends of justice.
Your verdict must not be based on speculation or guesswork. How did Ian Cootes die? If you can't tell yourselves in your discussions that he was murdered, then you can't bridge that gap by guesswork. We heard evidence from a highly experienced pathologist who told us it was quite possible he died a natural death. Ladies and gentlemen, I say it is simply not possible to be sure to the required standard that this man has been proved to have committed murder. And if that's the case, the true verdict, according to the evidence, is one of acquittal. And I thank you for your patience. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there are no time limits on your deliberations. The ball is entirely in your court. There are no time pressures on you. So, ladies and gentlemen, would you now retire to consider your verdicts?
Look at the jury and what they're thinking and how they've seen the case. Have they seen it the same as me? And it's really hard to tell. It's in their hands. Court! I'm worried that because they don't know how Ian died, that they might find him not guilty. I'm scared that he's going to walk, and just knowing that he could just walk up to my door any day. I'm just terrified in case it's not the verdict that we want to get.
I think the defence presented a strong argument in the closing speech. I think the case really sits on a bit of a knife edge. If David Barnes walks free, we have to accept it. We have to accept the verdict from the jury. We have to accept that we've gone through the criminal justice process, and if that is the outcome, that is the outcome. Just a waiting game now.
In the High Court of Justiciary, in Court Number 3, His Majesty's Advocate against David Barnes. Court Number 3, this is the verdict.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, will your spokesperson please stand? Can you confirm, have you reached a verdict?
Yes.
What is your verdict in respect of the accused David Barnes in relation to charge 1 on the indictment?
Guilty.
Is this verdict unanimous or by a majority?
Majority.
Please be seated whilst I record the verdict. Thank you.
Stand up. What you did was callous, the murder of a man who did you no harm. To the contrary, he gave you work. You have displayed no remorse or taken no responsibility for the crimes you have committed. There is only one sentence for murder, and that is life in prison, which will be coming your way. I'll wait for the Criminal Justice Social Work report. I'll then tell you what the sentence is. What you did was despicable and evil. Take him away.
There are so many people's lives which will be significantly impacted by the words uttered by the spokesperson of the jury. A verdict of guilty, of course, is an achievement and recognition of the work that many, many people did. I hope for the family there's a sense of justice having been served, and it might make things a little easier. It will not alleviate the pain and anguish they undoubtedly still suffer.
It's a little bit of closure. It'll never be full closure because we don't know what happened to our dad, and only he will ever know that.
If I could see the jury, I would love to thank them. Just a huge thank you. Because you do feel grateful and that they've listened. You do feel that you've had justice done.
I thought the jury were going to acquit him. But there we are, that's what we have trials for. Every defence lawyer is familiar with the question, how can you defend them when you know they're guilty? I don't know who's guilty and who's not guilty, and it's not my business. The law presumes him to be innocent. Defence counsel's role is to ensure that this democratic country can boast of a proper criminal justice system in which the rights of the accused citizen are fully protected. And that's why I defend them.